Hey everybody, Kim here with Lead Generation Source. Can you let me know if you can hear me and see my screen? All my stuff is backwards now, so I'm like, wait, where do I look? Hey Joanne. Good. Okay. So I do have Chrissy on with me, and for those who are used to seeing Joanne on, I am going to have her come on, if she wants to, of course, more on the digital marketing ones. And of course, I'll talk about that in a little bit, but let's go ahead and I'm just going to do, while we're waiting for anybody else that wants to hop on, I'm just going to go ahead and start talking a little bit of random info for those of you who are repeats on this. We are going to do these, and we're going to leave the webinars public. Sorry, my asthma's acting up today. So those who are new, I have asthma, but I gotta think about stuff, and I'm reading all the comments too. I get distracted. My brother says it's squirrel syndrome. It's good to see everybody. Hey Marjorie. Hey Richard. Hey Stephen. Okay, you have squirrel syndrome too, Joanne. Yeah. Well, it's also, I do that with everything. Like we were talking once, and like mid sentence, I went butterfly, and he goes, I feel like that was a squirrel moment. It's like, yeah, a little bit. I actually can't. Oh, okay, so it's Linda on, not Richard. I don't know if I can. You might have to go in and change it on yours. So like you would log into Demio and change it in there. I can look. I'll look afterwards. I'll try to look at it. Let me make a note. Again, I don't know if I can, but what? It's giving me errors. Okay, I'll just put a question there. Okay, so for those of you who are new, which I don't currently see anybody on that's new, but for those on the recording on YouTube or elsewhere, I just want to kind of go over a little bit about Lead Generation Source while we're waiting to see if anybody else hops on. And first of all, Lead Generation Source kind of developed from e-commerce, and that's why we still do an e-commerce element to it. That and Christy and I both do e-commerce, so it kind of makes sense. But Lead Generation Source in and of itself, the name came from testing something, which I haven't ever really dove into, and I'll probably try to test a little bit later. But the idea came from the fact that I've had tons of training, tons of education, and tons of certifications on various digital marketing elements, specifically related to e-commerce and local lead generation. So when we were all in an e-commerce group together and they were not teaching accurate information at all, I was like, oh, hey, I'll help give you guys real information that's valid. And that stems from my background in, thanks, Linda, she saved the day. That stems from my background in, I don't know, I guess my desire to help people. I remember being in high school and they're like, what do you want to do for a living? I want to help people. Yeah, but that's not what you do for a living. What do you want to do for a living? I want to help people. And he's like, I think you need to think about this. So that was my answer back then. And it really hasn't changed much, right? What do you want to do for a living? I want to help people. And that's, even though that's not a legitimate answer when you are talking about what do you want to do for a living, that doesn't make it any less true, right? And so after 9/11, I think a lot of people had that, oh my gosh, I want to help people. And I didn't know how. And so I was going to school in college and trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, hopping around from topic to topic and degree to degree. And then Hurricane Katrina happened. And I was finishing up my anthropology degree, of all things, which is funny because that wasn't what I was originally going for, but I had so many credits, I switched to anthropology and graduated. Yay. And when I graduated, I was like, you know, that emergency management stuff seems a little cool. So I went into emergency management. And then that led me to disaster response, where I worked with people individually. And that was okay because I liked being on scene and making sure that I wasn't making sure that they were alive. They were alive if I was talking to them. And I would just make sure I connect them with resources. But I kept running into things where I would meet people who were entrepreneurs, or they worked from home. They had their own business. And when they had their own business, they'd be working out of their garage and they would have like a house fire. And their entire garage with all of their tools would burn down. And they're like, I don't know what I'm going to do because I didn't have business insurance. I owned my home and didn't have home insurance because it was ridiculously expensive for them because they owned their own business and didn't make much money. And all my tools for my company just burned down. I mean, what am I going to do? I mean, literally, it was a double disaster. So as I exited that, I went into security with my husband. We owned a security company here locally. And then that got super expensive with health insurance. So he's still in security, but then I kind of shifted more to helping with digital marketing and online and trying to do the e-commerce side, because I've been in e-commerce since a long time. Let's just go with a long time. I want to say the late 90s, but it wasn't until the last, 5-6 years that I really dove into it. So anyway, that kind of led into Lead Generation Source, where I said, hey, I get a chance to help people. And so now I'm back to, I get to help people. And that's kind of how it worked through this way. Now my goal is to help specifically people who are in the small business realm, entrepreneurs, and I have my PhD, and that my dissertation focused on business continuity planning, which is like automation and making sure your company can function after a disaster. So that's kind of where I'm at right there, right? So that's where Lead Generation Source is currently, kind of still evolving. And I, of course, am Kim, Dr. Kim Christian. You'll see that a lot on things. I like to put the doctor in front of it because I paid a lot for it. I am paying a lot for it and will eventually pay a lot more for it. So I better put it on there, right? Now, Chrissy, who is on, is my twin sister. So yes, we are twins and we do a lot of the same things, but different, right, Chrissy?
Apparently.
Yes, we do sound the same, so I apologize in advance, but that's not our fault. It's genetics. You can blame science. So we do have more people to introduce later on, like Joanne, as I mentioned. She's one of our group admins, and she also hops on and helps with various things. I can tell you that she is really good at a lot of the same things I am with like marketing, but she runs into the same challenges I do. So sometimes we're just going to throw some challenges at you guys and be like, here, help us fix this. But we've come a long way, and I think we've got a lot of information to share over the next several months throughout the year. And I'll talk about that in a minute, but I wanted to share this with you. I love this quote. I actually had his poster and I couldn't remember what it was, and so I was looking it up today. And this is from Peter, I don't know if I'm saying his last name right, Safar, and it's the Creed for the Sociopathic Obsessive Compulsive. And this is the particular one that I've remembered forever. So I was literally in high school when I had this poster up on my wall, and this one was on there. It says, patience is a virtue, but persistence to the point of success is a blessing. And part of the reason why I want to share that with you is because as we're hopping into e-commerce, and I'm kind of starting back at the beginning for a lot of us, it's that one of the elements of success is literally persistence. I mean, it literally is. And I see that so many times where I hear people go, oh, well, they were successful. And they may even say, I was successful because of this. And I'm like, you're successful because you've been in it for 5 years and it just finally came along because you're persistent. And really, a lot of times that's what it is. You hear these people who've been like, oh, I've been doing this since like 2009. They may have been able to do well in the first 6 months, but they're not doing well now because of that first 6 months. They're doing well now because of persistence. So I just wanted to kind of share that. I mean, I don't know how many people are into the whole sociopathic obsessive compulsive part, but I was reading through the rest of it and I was like, wow, maybe this influenced me more than I thought, because there's a lot of these on here that are like part of my mottos. And then as a random thing, and I think we're just about done with waiting for people to get on. Did you guys happen to see the Capital One data breach? Did you guys see that out in the news this last week, a couple days ago?
Matt announced it.
Yeah. Yeah, see, so that's why I share this kind of stuff. Wait, what link, Joanne?
The leadgenerationsource.com.
Wait, what?
Get identity. Identify. Wait.
Oh, this one?
Is that misspelled?
Maybe. Maybe it could be identity. Did I type it? Hold on, let me check this. I could have misspelled it. Hold on, let me try it. That only works for me.
You used it with your phone, right?
It's with identify. I spelled it wrong on the link. Sorry. It's here, but yeah. Sorry. So there's the link for you guys. It is identify. Don't ask me why I typed it that way. I was in a hurry. I was actually literally just typing it in while we were waiting to get on. So don't do it with the T. Do it with the F, because Kim
she spelled it right here. Yeah.
Words.
Kim. Well, I was gonna make a mean joke, but if someone on YouTube saw it, they'd be mad.
Yeah. Don't. So Yeah, now that I gave you the actual link. So anyway, what I wanted to say, and I put the note in here, double disaster, because this goes back to my whole disaster response and business continuity planning. So as entrepreneurs, especially if you're the primary income for your household, and even if you're not, even if you're significant income for your household, what tends to happen with any type of disaster, but especially with something like a data breach, is that when you're affected personally, your business is also affected, right? Or vice versa. So something that we have to consider as entrepreneurs is that we need to be able to protect ourselves at elements that will minimize the impact, right? So think about that business continuity planning I was talking about. You want your business to keep running and you don't have to worry about some of those things, right? So if something happens, like in the case of this particular, this is one that we like, that there's tons of them out there. If you're on one that you like, keep it. But if you don't have one, check this one out because it's really good. They have one. I talked to a guy that had this. I was actually sitting next to him at a conference once, and we struck up a conversation. He's like, yeah, I had my identity stolen, and he owned a business, right? So seeing the pattern here, right? This is totally my thing. And he's like, yeah, I actually had my identity and my business stolen because the guy stole his identity, then went into the bank and took over his accounts and had them all transferred. But because the guy had stolen his identity and the guy didn't catch it, and none of this, he just wasn't monitored. He just didn't know. I mean, so he went and got this after the fact, and they've been working on it for like months and months and months. But if he had gotten ahead of it when it first happened, he wouldn't have lost everything. He lost his entire business. And this was a physical location business, right? So the location was like, yeah, but he had no money to pay for rent. So he had to shut down eventually. So these are things that we have to kind of consider, is that as entrepreneurs, especially in a world where we are increasingly exposed online. I mean, it's not up to us protecting our identity anymore. It's up to the entities. It's up to Capital One not being dumb and having the wrong code in there. And they're not the only ones. There's a site, and I'll share it with you guys. I'm going to do a blog post on this, and I'll in a video probably, and I'll share it with you guys and show you like how affected we are. And what worries me is that our identity, that's why I spelled it wrong. Identity, that's what I say. Our identity is constantly stolen. I mean, I'm sure that there are people stealing there's data stolen left and right, and nobody's doing anything with it, right? You always hear about these breaches, and then you never hear what happens after the fact. And so I'm either thinking cover up or lie in the first place. I don't know. But eventually something's got to come out that says, oh yeah, by the way, that massive data breach led to this. But nobody ever follows up with that. I don't know. I guess it's the same thing. There's the dead bodies found in Lake Ray Hubbard. Nobody's ever identified them, or at least if they have, they never told us. That was years ago. So
they'll find something somewhere and they don't say anything. They don't follow through with it. I don't know if the news is told, hey, this is an ongoing investigation, shut up, or what,
Maybe. All right, so let's do a quick overview of the e-commerce master series. So this is the first week of the e-commerce master series. And if you haven't signed up for the supplemental courses for the series, head on over to leadgenerationsource.com/ecommerce. And that will get you access to these supplemental courses. So we're going to do an overview here, and then we're going to dive into each of the topics in way more detail there. But I can't possibly, when some of those videos are 20 minutes each for a topic, and there's like 11 topics in here. There's no way I can get through in an hour and a half. Yeah, so Marjorie, you've had some similar experiences. Yeah, Richard, Linda, sorry, I keep forgetting that Linda's on, not Richard. It's kind of glitchy. So if you sign up for one and you have problems, just send me a message to the contact that sends me straight to an email, and I can go in there and I can just attach it. So if that's a non-issue, as long as you get into one of them, it's a lot easier for me to do. I'm still trying to transfer everybody's information over from the last one, but it's going to take some time. Everything with this website is exceptionally detailed. So I spent a lot of time putting it together, and I've got my things. We'll talk about that one time. But anyway, so then if you are interested in marketing, so mostly digital marketing, and the supplemental courses for that is a separate series. Okay, separate series. So we're going to do e-commerce, and then we're going to do digital marketing, and they're going to rotate. And that's so that way we can keep focused on e-commerce and then focused on marketing. So that way we just got those separate. There's a lot of people in our group that aren't marketing or that aren't e-commerce. And then there's a lot of people who are e-commerce and not necessarily digital marketing. So I wanted to keep them separate, though we will be talking about marketing for e-commerce. And you guys will see all of that, all of the details and the outline on this e-commerce one. So then if you want to do the marketing one, that's the separate one, sign up for the marketing one specifically. So all support requests can now go through the contact page on the lead generation source website. It's been tested. So, and Stephen, hopefully you got my email back to you because I did email you back. Marjorie, I'm not positive. The link to both of them are on the thank you page because it's one thank you page. So I didn't have time to do separate thank you pages. Seriously, guys, you'd be amazed at how much my husband's like, I can't believe how much you have to work just to get one piece of thing working on that. And I'm like, that's because I want it to work right and be automated. And then I have to test it all. I make him test it and he breaks the site. And I'm like, I look at him and I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And he's like, what? It's not working. It literally won't work for him. I've tested it like 7 other places, had other people do it, no problems, and his will not work, and I do not know why. So, all right.
That way, when somebody else breaks it, you're like, oh, you're in this batch over here.
Well, and see, and that's why, so Linda, you may fall into the same problem as him. Why is this not moving? I told it to go to the next page.
I didn't do it.
There it goes. Okay. All right. So in week 1, we are talking about e-commerce business models. So there are several different ways you can sell e-commerce products. Now we're going to talk about business models and then monetization. So we'll cover those specific models, which aren't necessarily critical, but there are 2 different ones that you definitely need to understand. And understanding these differences helps us to narrow our marketing focus. By the way, I have had a lot of Diet Coke. And we can also, of course, do products. Everything kind of aligns once we know each of the elements, right? So I do recommend that you dive into the supplemental course for the e-commerce business models to get more details on each one, including more specific pros and cons and examples, stuff like that. So I'm gonna, like I said, this is gonna be pretty high level. And then if there's something you're interested in or want to learn more about, that would be in the supplemental course that's in the members area. So the formula we're gonna be working on for the next, well, probably the rest of the time is gonna be the business model we select, plus the monetization method we select, plus the marketing method we select. So actually this will be for this week and next, because then we're going to actually talk about product selection and everything. And when we can get those to the same and that they're all kind of aligned, then that's going to improve our potential success, right? We can't guarantee success. There's no way to guarantee success, but we significantly can increase our chances when we align all of those right. Now, so the selling models, I'm going to overview these and we're going to dive into 2 more, into the first 2. So business to consumer is exactly what it sounds like, right? Business to consumer. A business is selling to the end user, which is the average person who has plenty of disposable income usually. Now, business to business is where you sell products to a business buyer of some sort. And even though this should, if they're using it for the business, that should be more of a consumer, they tend to do anything business related fits in that. So they could be people who are reselling them, so they're purchasing it to resell, or they're purchasing it for the business to use. Now there are 2 other ones in here, and I dive more into these into the course than I do here because, well, you'll hear my rant. So consumer to business, which is when a average person goes and sells to a business, and this is not exactly the best way. I just really don't feel this is a legitimate method. Because there's like 2 examples they give, right? So like, I'm going to give 2 real quick. One is like, let's say that you're a consumer and you're going to go in, you're going to take in like your kids' toys, not your kid, just your kids' toys. That could have been a perfect drop there. So you're going to take in your kids' toys and sell them to, kid to kid or something, which I don't really recommend, but you're going to do that. Now that's a consumer selling to a business, right? So that's one way that it is. But another one that they do, and they're like, oh, this is really big. And I've seen this multiple times out there where they're going, oh, this is somebody who like sells a service like logo design to a business. Now, my argument is that's not a consumer selling to a business. That's a business selling to a business because you're offering a business service. Even if you're an individual, most states, especially in the United States, right? I don't know about outside the United States, but most states within the United States, they're going to dictate that when you start offering something to sell, at what level that turns into a business. And like in Texas, you're pretty much conducting business. And once you hit $600, you're officially a business and you need to act like one. So each state is different. And I don't even know if Texas is still $600 because I looked into that like a long time ago. But anyway, so I don't really believe in these two methods, just for the record. I don't think that they're really legitimate methods, but we're just going to cover them. Then consumer to consumer, and this is, of course, the business model where consumers sell to consumers. Popular areas are like eBay, Craigslist, even Etsy. And again, this is another tricky term because more often than not, it's a business selling to a consumer, such as a resale store. So we're not going to focus on the last two, and of course, all of these have exceptions and variations. So business to consumer, this is the most popular e-commerce model. This is literally the most popular e-commerce model. And I give you numbers and everything in the course, but you just have to trust me that the amount of money we spend is ridiculous. And so you only have to convince the consumer to buy versus trying to make it to the decision maker at a business, right? So if you're trying to sell to a business buyer, then you're going to have to, they may have to go, oh, well, I need to get approval. I have to go back to my board and get permission, right? You don't have to do that with the consumer. You just have to get them to say, hey, I like this. I want to buy it. That's it. So it's really it's a lot easier to sell an item. Now, when you do sell to a consumer, you typically sell in items individually. And then, of course, you're ideally doing upsells and cross-sells. The ideal range for a consumer it just varies on what you're selling, what niche you're in. But you can sell from any range, from free, which usually is free plus shipping, all the way through to high ticket items. Right? All of those can sell on the front end, and they can all be in upsells and cross sells. So there's really no rules on here. You have to sell at this level because there's people successful all the way across the board. You also have options of general products or niche products. So you literally have whatever option you want when you're selling to consumer. It's also easier to use marketing platforms like Facebook and Pinterest and Instagram and YouTube. I mean, a lot of these, it's a lot easier to sell to a consumer on the platforms than it is if you're doing business to business. Another benefit of business to consumer, or another element there, is that you can use emotional reactions or responses to push products and build a brand. So one example would be, let's say that you're into unicorns and you're like, oh, hey, I'm going to do an entire unicorn store and I'm going to get people that are passionate about unicorns. There are lots of passionate people about unicorns. I almost threw the word crazy in there, but my daughter loves unicorns, so I can't say that. So usually a much larger potential to find buyers. However, it can be tough getting your product in front of buyers when everyone is competing for their attention. Right. So if we go back to that whole, the attention span, the average attention span is like less than 8 seconds, which 8 seconds is the attention span of a goldfish. So we are less than that. And of course, low margins also mean that you're going to run at a loss for a lengthy period of time until you build up repeat buyers. So that's kind of the business to consumer side. Now, business to business, I'm lumping all types of business purchases in this, right? So think of this as you're selling only to businesses because they need what you have, right? And again, I dive into this in a lot more detail in the course, but we want to think about businesses, and this is going to be an example of commercial printers, right? So even though an individual may purchase one, your ideal customer is a business buyer because you're selling a commercial printer and they're the ones that are going to have the money for it. So, and they're going to be using it for a business. Now, you could also have promotional items. You're typically, other than Party City may do this in bulk, but promotional items are going to be where they're putting their logo on it and maybe buying 1,000 of them or 100 of them or 50 of them because they want to give them away to people. Then you also have bulk purchases where a company's buying it and then they're reselling it. Now, when I say bulk, I know plenty of places that are like, yeah, we'll take 6 to resell. And I'm like, that's not even, how do you exist as a business? Because, and that's the thing with small businesses, right? Their bulk purchases are much smaller. So there's a variation in there, but those are typically the ones that you're going to look at. Now, business to business, almost always has larger ticket purchases. They're buying more than one, right? It's not very common to sell an individual t-shirt to a business buyer because who's going to wear it? They're going to take turns? No. If they're going to buy a t-shirt, they're going to buy one for everybody. They're going to buy one for how many ever they're going to be handing out, right? But you can, of course, sell an individual commercial printer, which, by the way, costs a lot more than the residential printers. So again, larger ticket purchases. You know, same thing goes for services on the service side. If you're doing e-commerce service related stuff, you would be like, okay, hey, I'm charging more to a business because it takes more to do that. Now, fundraising, I'm going to throw fundraising into this category. And I know there's several of you on that have talked about fundraising in the past. So I know technically you could sell individually on behalf of an entity, but really fundraising falls under more of a business to business. It's the entity is asking, you're selling to the entity and the entity is selling to the consumer. So you're kind of more like a wholesale in between that. So it's a little bit vague on that. However, we're going to put it on business to business because you're reaching out to businesses initially. So, and of course, the pro to this is that you can generate high revenues. I mean, frequently much higher revenues over business to consumer. The con to this, and this is going to be the big negative, is that you need to find the decision maker. And this typically requires networking. And then it goes back to it's still who you know and not what you know, right? I mean, unfortunately, that's the way the business world still works. So popular e-commerce monetization methods. Oh man, I wish I could have my thing up. I know I'm not very far in, so I must talk a lot. All right, we've got drop shipping, and I'm just going to do overviews real quick and we'll dive into a little deeper. This is where someone else manufactures a product and stores the product. They actually keep it on site there, and then you sell the product and the manufacturer ships the product to wherever you want them to ship it to. Now, white label, you have your own product manufactured and you're going to sell it to the end user. So you're still selling to the end user in drop shipping. You're just not shipping it to them or storing it or anything else. Now, hybrid is a mix between the two. And that's where you have, like print on demand is an example of hybrid. And that's where you can design and sell the product, but a manufacturer will make it, store it, and ship it. So they're still doing the drop shipping part of it, but you're still getting to white label it as your product. Move. All right, so then we've got affiliate marketing. And a lot of people are like, affiliate marketing doesn't belong in this because it's not a physical product, but there are physical products, and we'll talk more about that in a second. So this is where you're selling someone else's products, or you're actually more like recommending it, and you receive a % of the sales. It's a lot like a commission, but commission is misleading because that indicates you're potentially a salesperson, and you're not, right? You're not an employee. So you're doing this on your own. Then you've got wholesale, which wholesale can fit into a bunch of different categories, but it is typically where you're going to purchase from a manufacturer. So it can be white label, doesn't have to be. And then you're going to sell it to another business that sells directly to the consumer. I'm going to tell you now that wholesale is dwindling. There's not very many opportunities for this anymore in the digital age. Arbitrage is where you buy products. You can buy it like on sale or where they're clearing it out or whatever, and then you resell them somewhere else for a profit. And then digital products is exactly what it sounds like. It's digital. You sell products that are not physical. And so again, a lot of people argue, well, digital products, that's not e-commerce. And I'm like, well, that's kind of pretty much the most e-commerce you can get. So I'm throwing it in there because I like digital products. I like to buy them and I like to sell them. All right, so drop shipping. This is popular to buy from AliExpress. Oops, did I tell you guys a secret? No, probably not by now. Everybody knows what AliExpress is, especially if you're in the e-commerce world. And if you're like, oh my gosh, Kim, I didn't know about that. That's okay. I'm sure there's some people that don't know who it is, what AliExpress is. But people buy on there, they sell at a markup, and they keep the difference. It's a pretty simplistic e-commerce model, and that's what makes it super popular. And of course, there are some that prefer to drop ship only from US-based companies, and this is going to be especially considering the changes in relationships with China, or the threats of. I don't know if you guys noticed, I just hopped on AliExpress the other day and a lot like free shipping is like going out the window. And I was like, oh wow, this product is still a pretty good price. And I was like, oh, but it's twice the price because shipping is the same price. It's like $8 for the item and $8 for shipping. And I was like, what? And it was a featured item. So I was kind of surprised, but yeah. And the shipping, yeah, from the US is very expensive. Yeah. So one of the major benefits of drop shipping is that you have no inventory up front. Now, again, there's variations where you can have it, but the beauty of it is that you don't have the inventory up front and you don't have to package the product. Somebody else is doing all of that for you, right? So all you're focusing on is the marketing and the sales, right? Everything else is taken care of. And then, of course, the customer service as well you have to do. Now, a pro to this is that you can have a wide variety of options to test products. AliExpress has, I would venture to say, hundreds of thousands, if not pushing 1 million products on there. Now, a disadvantage of this is that you have the risk of high competition since you are not an exclusive seller. I mean, there are plenty of people that are going to be selling from AliExpress. In fact, there are large brands that do this. I mean, like companies, you're like, what? I never even knew that. And you'd be like surprised. So a lot of people are going to be selling the same products as you, usually at the same negotiated price or better because they have a relationship with that seller. And maybe they're selling it, they get it for cheaper so they can undercut you. So that's one of the disadvantages. And of course, there are more pros and cons and explanations in the supplemental course. So this is good for business to consumer, right? You're not typically going to do that and then try to sell it to a business because the business is going to expect some sort of a break. The profits are typically lower and your sources will price like you are buying low quantities, right? So you're going to be, for example, if you're buying in bulk, you can get it for $1, whereas if you're buying it individually, you have to pay $5, right? So that's the reason why you're going to have business to consumer. You can mark it up more when you are buying it individually like that. So white label, and I'm going to tell you one source is Alibaba. I'm going to see if I can compile a longer list of sources later on, but we'll see. So white labels when you're going to be making your own product. We talked about that. And you're going to buy from a source like Alibaba, which is also in China. And then you're going to sell you can sell in your own store, or you can sell on marketplaces like Amazon. And we're going to talk more about marketplaces specifically in another week, but I just want to give that as an example. So keep in mind that white label means it's your product, it's your brand, and you're just finding someone to manufacture it. Okay. You're finding someone, but it's legitimately yours. Like, I'll give you an example. I had some wallets made a few years back, and like, thankfully they didn't make me make a ton, but I had like 100 of them made, right? I gave them the specifications that I wanted. They made them to those specifications, and they are nice, by the way. So that's one way that you can white label something, is you find something that exists. You don't have to create an entire product, right? You don't have to go, I'm going to invent a new product. You don't have to do that. You just have to come up with what the specifications are that you want. Like for us, we wanted a zipper on it because my husband always has, what do I do with my change? Or what do I do with my key? And so he wanted a zipper on it. And so we put a zipper on it and found out that most people don't know what to do with a zipper on a wallet for a man. So surprise, surprise. Now, one of the advantages is you can provide a superior product. Again, that wallet that we did, I think it cost us $10. It is comparable in quality to well over $100 wallets. Like we were shopping somewhere and I was like, wow, this is really not a great wallet. And it was like $150 for the wallet. And our quality was way superior to that. So that's nice. If we could have built up our brand, it probably would have been great. I gave up because I was working on some other e-commerce stuff. But you can also create something unique. I don't know that I would go too unique, but you could come up with, an adaptation of something that's unique and fills a gap. That's the whole thing, is filling a gap, right? And you can usually make better profits over drop shipping. So white label, you can buy something in bulk and get a lower price, so you can sell it for the same price. So if you're selling it for $19.99, but you're buying it for $10 on drop shipping, you have a $9.99 gap. But if you are selling it for $19.99 and you can buy it for $3, now you've got a bigger gap for potential profits there. Now, the disadvantage is that this can get expensive up front with expenses such as samples. Samples can get very expensive. When we were doing it, it was $50 a pop. And that was like, wait, not worth it at all for some of them. But then you also have storage, not just like storage here, but storage other places if you need to ship it somewhere. But like, let's say you have it shipped to you, then you have to store it somewhere. It's a problem. Well, it's a opportunity to find something to fix that, right? Then you also have shipping to warehouses, and if you are sending it to FBA, you're gonna have FBA fees, which is fulfillment by Amazon. I mean, there's a lot of different expenses that can go into this upfront. Sorry, I had to get something to. My throat's a little dry. I guess I'm not used to talking this long. I need to practice. Okay, so again, more pros and cons and resources in the supplemental course in the members area. Now, what white label is good for? You can do either business to business or business to consumer, either one, right? So business to consumer is something like what I do, where I manufacture a product. I don't buy it from China though, guys. I manufacture it, and it takes a lot more work for me to manufacture a product. So it's would probably be cheaper for me to buy it from China and bring it in and resell it, but we like manufacturing it here in the US, so I don't know that that's going to change. But so we make the product, so we white label, we make our own product that's white labeled, we send it into Amazon, and then we sell it there straight to the consumer, right? We sell it on our website, we sell it on Etsy, eventually maybe other marketplaces. That is an example of business to consumer. Now, the other option would be, let's take the exact same business model, right? We say, okay, we're going to, well, not business model, but monetization method. We're going to say, I'm still making the exact same product, but instead, now what I'm going to do is, instead of selling it through the marketplaces, maybe I'm going to go to Hallmark and say, hey, we can make this custom ornament for you, and then you can resell it. Yeah, Linda, if you want to sell those, just reach out to me and you can do whatever. I'm not huge on oh, this is exclusive. No, we aren't like that. So if you have some ideas, definitely reach out to me. We were hoping to get to the point where we would be ready for business to business, but we're still moving our building over. Well, it's still being built. It should have been done, but it's not. But anyway, so that's kind of an example of the exact same one where you're white labeling, and you can do it either business to business or business to consumer. All right. Then there's the hybrid model. And of course, that's a combination between white labeling and drop shipping. So it's still your product, but the manufacturer creates the product and ships it out for you. So print on demand is an example of white label. And we're going to teach that method in detail later on, because we got to get to that point first. We're going to set the foundation, right? Now you can contract with the supplier to provide their product with your brand on it as well. That's another way. And, in fact, there's Groovecart. Groovecart has one that they did. It's not technically your white label, it's their white label, but they did this where they reached out to like a vitamin supplier, like they make all their own vitamins, and they're like, hey, can we have our brand put on your product? And then whatever they did, they negotiated, and they came up with a brand new brand. Now, in the hybrid model, you would be doing the exact same thing, where you reach out to somebody who makes toasters, as an example, and say, look, I don't want anything changed, I don't want anything custom. I just want to be able to sell the toaster as my brand. And they would go, oh, okay, sure, no problem. So they're basically selling it to you wholesale, and then you're reselling it as a consumer. So that's another hybrid model. Okay, let's see. So the pro, of course, is that you can build your own brand. You don't have to carry inventory, and you don't have to worry about shipping, right? So that's a huge benefit there. Now, the con to that is that you have to build up all the marketing and costs for products. You have to build up all the marketing, and the cost for products tend to be higher. So again, we talked about that whole individual purchase versus bulk purchase, right? So because this is on demand and they're making it custom for you, it's going to be a higher price than if you were to buy it bulk from somewhere, or something that was already made that they have in bulk, right? So this is going to be a hybrid model, tends to be higher because you basically customized it, even if you're just putting your own label on it. And so they can't sell it now because you have to sell it. So it's going to be a higher price because they have to do more work to push that product out. And again, there's more pros and cons in the supplemental course, but this is really good for business to consumer. And the reason why I would say not business to business, so this would even go with fundraising, is because of the lower margins and efforts with marketing. So unless you can find a good enough margin, like for example, if you're going to be selling a shirt for $25, but your cost is $28, you're going the wrong way. Right, so you got to make sure that whatever you're offering is either unique enough or custom enough that you can build in enough of a profit for either you or whatever the entity is. Right, so business to business at the hybrid level is very difficult. So that's why I say it's better for business to consumer. But there are opportunities for business to business, don't get me wrong. And we'll talk more about that in print on demand. Now, affiliate marketing, this is one where you recommend products to others and earn a referral fee. And again, lots of people call it a commission fee, but that's very misleading because commission fees indicate that you have a sales position and you're making a commission. And that's not accurate. Affiliate marketing is literally saying, look, I suggest this product. If you buy it, I make some money, right? We do that. That's something that I actually like affiliate marketing, because if there's a product I like, I don't want to have to duplicate it, right? Because that's just one, I'm stealing their information, their ideas, their whatever. And I'd rather just go, hey, this is what I'd recommend because this is a benefit for you. Now, in e-commerce specifically, sites like Amazon, eBay, Etsy, and many, many others have affiliate programs. And I'm not done with the list. I'm gonna have a whole list in the supplemental course. So hopefully by tonight or tomorrow morning at the latest, I'll have a list in there for you guys if you're interested in affiliate marketing. I actually tell businesses, or not businesses, I tell the business leaders that I interact with when I'm, assessing their businesses, and I say, hey, I would recommend you include some more of a passive income thing. So for example, if they are a roofing company, they may be able to find some sort of affiliate product that they do not sell and that's not going to compete with them, that they can recommend to their list. So maybe they are like, hey, we think that you need to clean your gutters, and obviously you need to have a professional gutter cleaning done, but maybe they don't do it. So maybe they can partner with another company and have some sort of referral fee or affiliate fee. Or they can just say, hey, if you're into the do-it-yourself cleaning your gutters, here's this product we found on Amazon that can help you clean your gutters. And that's a great way to provide value to your customers if you have a physical business, as an example. But it's also a great way to provide value if you're a blogger or doing anything else. So even if you sell products, you can always add on affiliate marketing too for non-competitive ones. And it's kind of nice like that. Now, the pros to this is that you're recommending products. So there's no need to worry about any element of the sales part. You're not selling it, you're not storing it, you're not shipping it, you're not really even marketing it. All you're doing is recommending it. I mean, you can market it, I guess. That is a strategy in affiliate marketing. But you can literally add affiliate marketing to just about any system, right? So a disadvantage to this is that most of the time, there's actually two main ones. Most of the time, e-commerce referral fees are low. So an example is Amazon, I believe, starts you at a 4% of the fee. So let's say that they're, you're like, oh, here's a $10 item. You're getting like, what, 4 cents on that? 40 cents on that? What's my math on that? Anyway, you guys can do the math. It's low. So you'd have to sell a lot to make enough money to actually make it worthwhile. There's plenty of other affiliate programs out there that pay you better, but the most popular ones like that are going to be pretty low. So you have to search around. Again, we'll have a list and you guys can check them out. The other, what?
Amazon one, I know it says you said starts you at 4%. I think it depends on the type of product.
Right. But typically it starts at 4%. That's the lowest.
Some are lower. Well, some of them I saw were lower at one point, but I don't know if that's changed. I haven't looked into it for a while.
Yeah, me either. Because it's too low. And sometimes, I forgot to put this in there, but sometimes they have cookies that are like, oh, if they don't buy within the next 48 hours, they're no longer yours. And I can't remember what Amazon's cookie is, but it's pretty quick, like 24, 48 hours. So,
and I think it has to be a new customer, not someone like not someone who already is a customer.
No, it doesn't have to be brand new. They can, I don't think it does.
I don't know. I tried doing it. I didn't get anything for all my referral stuff, so I stopped doing it.
Yeah, it is tough. And that's why it's just one of those things. Oh, so Marjorie used to do that, but then Amazon stopped letting them do whatever they're doing.
They did discontinue that because I was doing that for a while too.
So Linda's asking about like when you sell programs. Yeah, so that's affiliate marketing as well. So like the software and stuff that I recommend or info products that I recommend, that's all affiliate marketing as well. It's not e-commerce specific because well, actually it is. We'll talk about that on the digital products. Oh, what percent? Yeah, those percents are better. And you'll see that I haven't actually finished the affiliate marketing recording, but it's way better than 4%. It's closer to 50% on a lot of these. Some of them are 75%. And in fact, what I'd like to do eventually is get, for those of you that are interested in affiliate marketing, when I first started, like everybody had an opinion and I couldn't get into any of the programs people talked about. So I had to do it the hard way because nobody could tell me how to do it the right way. So I'd like to run through it. Here's how you do it the easier way and which ones you need to get into and have like how-to videos and stuff. but we're probably, I don't know if we'll be able to fit that into the e-commerce series because it's really not e-commerce exactly. I just kind of wanted to cover it. But if you guys are interested in doing more affiliate marketing stuff, which I highly recommend, I think it's a value no matter what you're doing, especially blogging, by the way. And yeah, so I'd like to cover that more in more detail later on if you guys are interested in that. You have to let me know though. Yeah, Marjorie, it would be really nice to not have to do it the hard way like I did, because it took me years to get it set up and I was like, I don't even know if I'm doing this right. And so I would get discouraged and stop doing it. And then one day I made like 5 sales and I was like, wait, do I know what I'm doing? And then I repeated it. And I was like, oh, I think I know what I'm doing. And so now I have a much better grasp of what I'm doing. I still don't do a whole lot of sales because there's not a whole lot to sell, to be honest. And that's why I say it's a good add on. Because if your primary method is affiliate marketing, you kind of have to be pushy and be like, buy this now or I hate you. And I don't like doing that because if people don't want it, they don't want it. There's not much I can do about that. I'm here to let you know. If you buy, you buy. If you don't, you don't, right? So we do that. We use affiliate marketing. In fact, all the money I make with affiliate marketing, which isn't much right now, but what I do make, I put back into lead generation source every time, right? And so that's why I'm like, hey, if we're gonna keep this free, please open my emails. And if you guys are interested, try to buy it through us if we're promoting it, because this stuff gets expensive and time consuming. I'd love to be able to pay somebody to do some of the work, but I don't make enough money yet. But in my defense, I was working on a PhD. And now that that's done, projects galore. All right, so the affiliate marketing is really good for business to consumer. And the reason I say that is because most affiliate programs are for consumers, right? There are some that are, oh yeah, you can sell it as a business, but a lot of those are more like sales positions that the company doesn't want to pay you, and they have the same requirements as if you're a salesperson. And I'm like, that seems like you're skirting the law there. So it's more like you're an independent contractor salesperson. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing those. So a lot of the ones I would say this is business to consumer. All right, so wholesale, of course, it's going to fit into some of the other ones, like example, white label, but you don't have to do white label. You can find a manufacturer who needs help connecting with the business. This used to be a really big market with wholesale where people would be like, that would be what they did. They would literally just be like, okay, I'm going to find manufacturers and I'm going to find retailers. I'm going to connect them. I'm going to take my cut. And then that's it. They'd move on to the next one. And they have repeat business, right? The problem with wholesale, and I didn't really put this on here, is that it's kind of dead. So I wouldn't recommend looking at wholesale as a specific option. However, there are people who do this for Walmart as an example. You know, like you test a product, you get it going. Maybe you test on Amazon, you get a lot of good sales, and then you reach out to somewhere like Walmart who's going to buy a ton of them, and you have your manufacturer, and then you negotiate on something. So you can white label it, you can and then, or you can find an existing manufacturer who just needs help connecting with the business. So those are 2 options. But let's see. Sorry, I wrote this yesterday, so I had to look at my note real quick. Okay. Yeah, so that's the nice thing, is that you're going to find a business that's reselling the product. That's usually how it works. And then they're going to purchase from you when they need more. So repeat sales, right? And they're going to keep coming back and back and back as long as it sells. Now, a huge disadvantage, besides the fact that it's a dying industry, is that it's exceptionally difficult to get started if you don't already have a network built. I mean, think about that. And I go into a lot more detail in the course, but to give you an example, we tried to do this with EP Laser, and we reached out to a local, because we have a Christian line, and so we reached out to a local company that sells, you know, Christian items, and they're like, okay, to get started, you need to have, and there's like 37 things on the list, maybe more. And then after we got all that, then we had to submit the product to their corporate headquarters, which I don't think they're that big, but they had a corporate headquarters, and they're like, for consideration. And then if they accepted it, we would have to provide like quantities of like 10 of each item to each store without getting paid up front. And I was like, that sounds expensive. So anyway, this is of course good for business to business. And I'm going to tell you that there's the ones that are like wholesale to you. And it's like, no, it's not wholesale if you're selling individually to a person. Even if you're selling bulk with alleged wholesale prices, to be wholesale, you're selling to somebody who's reselling. That's not me. That is actually how it's coded in our taxes, and the IRS has it coded that way. So those sites are just being misleading. Arbitrage. Now, arbitrage is an interesting one. And I think, Linda, this is something that I think you did. And this is actually what Chrissy does, is arbitrage. So an arbitrage is basically, and I'll tell you, there's lots of definitions out there. So this is the very watered down version of it. And it's when you buy an item from a business or whatever, you buy it somewhere and then you sell it somewhere else for a profit, right? So you're just basically buying it. And there are companies that literally make millions doing this. And for example, you buy, let's say you go buy, what's that? Hey, Chrissy, what's that toy company is it Fisher Price that always like discontinues their products as soon as they make it?
Yeah, well, Fisher Price does, but a lot of people are doing that now because it creates a demand.
Mm-hmm. So what you do is you go in and you buy the Fisher Price products, especially the cool ones, because those are always the ones that get discontinued. And
Limited to begin with.
Limited quantities, right? And then you may have to sit on them for like a couple months, but typically what you can do is you buy it there and then you can go onto somewhere else and sell it, right? And people go, well, if you can buy it from Walmart, why wouldn't they sell it online? I don't know why Walmart's online system is the way it is, by the way. It's just crazy. I don't even think Walmart sells their stuff online half the time. They just have other people's stuff on there. So anyway, so let's say you buy it at Walmart and you sell it on Amazon. Now do your research in advance. In fact, if you have a smartphone, take it with you, and I can't remember, there's an app you can use. You can scan the barcode and it'll give you information about it, because we got really burned on this. We went into Kohl's, of all places, and they were clearancing out a couple different items, and we're like, okay, we'll max out our credit cards. And this was like years ago, right? And we're like, we're gonna max out our credit cards. We're gonna buy all these, and then we're gonna sell it on Amazon because that'll be great. And so we went on Amazon to list it, and we're like, yeah, these are all blocked from being able to be sold on Amazon, because Amazon apparently has some sort of agreement with some of these chains that they won't sell their particular products on Amazon. So example, Kohl's brand items can't be sold on Amazon. At least it was back then. I don't know about now, but make sure you do your research. And Steven says Amazon seller app. Yep. You should probably do that and just try even making the listing. And if it won't let you, don't buy it.
Well, here's one problem though with that is Kohl's builds all of their stores in buildings with really thick walls, like those cement walls. I can't use the app in my app in my Kohl's. I can't even Kohl's.
Yeah, you can't use them in any of the Kohl's.
I cannot use my phone at all.
Yeah, I think they block it.
Walmart's starting to do it too here.
So yeah, but what Chrissy does, Chrissy's model on Etsy is similar to this, right? So she goes into a store, she buys products, and she puts it on Etsy. But she's filling a gap. She's literally filling a gap. And that's where the difference is. When you're in a popular product like Fisher Price toys, which I don't know how many people do this, but I kid you not, if I were going to, that's what I would do, is Fisher Price toys. If you do it and you lose a lot of money, don't blame me. But if I were going to try it again, that's what I would do now. But I would check first before I did it. So anyway, so she does this and she does quite well. And I know other people who do this and they do quite well. So a similar method to this is finding wholesalers or manufacturers that need to liquidate clearance of a product, right? So you find somebody who's, that particular model of the toaster's out and they've got a stock of 100 and they're like, look, I just need to get this out of my way. And you're like, okay, fine, I'll buy them for $1 each. Then I can resell them for $20 each, right? The pro with this is that you can ride an existing trend. That toaster is still in demand. Just because they're not making it anymore doesn't mean it's not in demand. That Fisher Price toy is still in demand. They discontinued not because people didn't like it, but because that's what they decided the end of their product life for them. They're not going to make enough money off of it now, or they want to just push out another product. So you can ride the trend and you can make the money off of it. The disadvantage to this, and this is one that I actually think is a significant disadvantage, is that it's short-lived. Once the product sells out, you likely can't get it again because it's discontinued. So it's not really a repeatable success. So in the case of Chrissy's model, she's doing that with the same item and that particular one is discontinued. And so when that one's discontinued, she can't sell any more of that, but she has complementary ones that are similar that she can, oh, well, you can't buy that one, but you can buy this one. So hers works really well because of that. Think of the Fisher Price toys, right? Well, I have 10 toys that I'm selling. Well, I've sold this one that they wanted, but oh, here, this one's for the same age range and it's still Fisher Price and it's still cool. You're probably going to be able to sell that one as well. So when it's staying within that niche, there's still a possibility for success, but it is possible you don't have that, right? So this is really good for business to consumer, and this is actually the closest model to consumer outside of selling used items, right? This is like the closest model. It's still business to consumer, but it's the closest thing I could find that was to it. And though you really could sell it to businesses if you have the right niche in products. So for example, if you have that commercial printer, and the person's like, let's say you just happen to get a contract to sell that, you happen to go, hey, I have this, and you have this, and you match it up, and boom, you got a business to business, but it's most likely going to be business to consumer. All right, digital products. And this is kind of one of my favorites. And that's because this, if I were to have enough time to start a business this week, it would be digital products probably, because I love digital products, but I don't have enough time for it. So, and I guess technically I do that. I just give them away for free. So there are those in the world that argue that digital products don't count as e-commerce because it's not a physical product. Yet I argue that it's the most ultimate e-commerce because it's online and you don't have a physical product, right? So again, the reason why I'm including this is because it's about you and what works best for you. So, and again, this is one of my favorite methods to buy and to sell, but I love buying digital products because you get that instant gratification, right? So here's some common digital products. Software. I'm a huge software freak. You guys know this. I love software. If I could buy every piece of software and try it out, as long as it's not too overly complicated, because I don't like to waste my time either. So if it's something that's really dumb, I'm like, I hate this, and I will never buy from that person again. But I love software, right? Though I say that, but you know, Adobe products are super complicated and I pay for that every month. And I do take the time to learn stuff. So I don't know. I guess it's just here or there. But info products is another one. Example, ebooks. And my husband laughs every time he sees the deposit from Amazon that says 70 cents or $1 or whatever, and $1.40, I guess. He's like, you sold another book. I wrote that book in 2013 and I didn't do any marketing for it. I had no idea what I was doing. Somebody just mentioned it. I found the template. I decided to do, I spent, I don't know, weeks on that book, right? And it was all about how to sell an offer up. And we just got started doing that. But I was like, man, this is so great. People need to know about this. And I did this super detailed book. I think I have like 2 stars on it because people are like, there's too many apps and or too many ads. And I'm like, there are no ads in my book. They're freaking rating offer up on my book. I could probably get that taken off, but I don't care. I just did that one, and then I was going to do a whole series, and I went, man, that took too much time. I don't know what I'm doing. If I were to do it again, I would do an ebook. Like, I'm seriously thinking about ebooks. I'm like, oh man, I could write so many ebooks because I like to type stuff out, but that'll be after I get all the courses set up. But that's what I would love to do, ebooks again. And guys, if people are, don't go find an ebook course. In fact, I would recommend that if you want to do ebooks, you literally go to Amazon, get the template, and just fill it in because it's just submitting it. The part that's hard on ebooks is the marketing, which guess what? We're going to cover. So if you are all interested in ebooks, even if you're not writing it, you're going to have somebody else write it. Let me know because I think this is kind of an area that we can do for free. Videos is another one. What?
I would say I did ebooks too.
Yeah, you did. And you did pretty good. You did better than me.
I did really good for a while. And then, of course, what I wrote about changed. So, and I didn't change with it because I was like, I need to make more money.
Right. And here's the thing, you guys, if you're going to do ebooks, you got to have a strategy. And so there, and this goes back to my sister and I were talking about this before we got on, that her and I, we love producing content. We hate monetizing. We hate trying to figure out ways to make, to sell things and stuff. We just love to talk. Oh my gosh, I do. I love to talk. You guys know that.
We like the sounds of our own voices.
Which is why we could talk to each other for hours, right?
I like your voice, but I don't like my voice.
Well, I like my voice. I don't dislike your voice.
Well, thanks. Thank you.
I'm just messing around. I don't.
That took me a second. Obviously, I was like, wait, is she dissing me or?
I wasn't dissing you. I'm just messing around. And I was like,
no, she's dissing me.
I'm being sisterly. All right. So let's see here. So you see here, I'm going to highlight this. There are way too many pros to list them. Okay. I will have some cons, but let's just talk a little bit about the pros. So many digital products are very easy to create. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to be like snap your fingers and it's done, right? Everything takes time. Oh my gosh, an amazing amount of time for some reason. But it would be, I'm going to go with cheaper and easier to create a digital product than for some of the other models that we've talked about, right? So it's very easy to create some of these. It could still be time consuming, but very easy. The digital nature means you get to create it once and sell it over and over and over and over again. That's what they would call passive income. Is that not like the ultimate goal, right? Is you create something and then Steven says, oh, good. You started with some sort of Amazon Kindle something. That's like, looks like code to me. I should know what it is, but it looks like code to me. Look.
He is the Kindle, what do you call it now?
Digital publishing or something?
Yeah, whatever it is. So it's their ebooks section.
Yeah. So in fact, what I would say, oh my gosh, I have to tell you guys, direct publishing. Okay, yeah. I kind of, back of my brain knew that, but I hadn't seen it in so long because all I do is collect money now. It's little. Me too. But, yeah, so I really like this, and it looks like you guys do too. So what we need to do is we need to start looking at how to monetize that better, right? So you can sell the book, or you can do it for free. And I sold the book because there's so much content in it. I thought, okay, people will buy this, but I didn't know how to market it. Back then, maybe I kind of did, just didn't. I don't know. But the idea behind it is that you make money from your book. So everything has a next step, and we'll talk more about this kind of like in digital marketing. But let's say you make your book. I've seen this so many times too. I would get so annoyed. So don't do it this way. You pay $19, $20, $49 for a book, and then they have affiliate links included in it. And I'm like, what? And you have affiliate links in here. The book is not worth what I paid in the first place. And then you give me a bunch of affiliate links, and all I do is get mad because I'm like, I don't mind the affiliate links, but I hate getting paid for affiliate links. Yeah, you love the end of the month, the Amazon money comes in. Yeah, Marjorie. So see those. So everybody seems to be doing especially the Amazon side of it. There's more too. Like Barnes and Noble has theirs, and there are others that are out there now too. So digital products are really nice.
Smashboards, I believe is what it's called, and they do everywhere. Like it's like a distributor almost. You go through them, and they go through all the different places and set it up for you.
Well, we might have to explore this in more detail, because affiliate marketing and digital products, if you combine those two, might be the easiest way to get up and running. Because digital products, you can create the content, especially if you're doing like ebooks, and then affiliate marketing is monetization. So Marjorie, I've not set up any of my courses for sale on Amazon. Honestly, this has been a really long summer. I just want to get you guys the free content for now. And then at the end of the year, once I start monetizing stuff, I'll be switching to other ways. And I don't know for sure that I'm gonna make it paid, because again, my goal is to build as many successful people as possible. But I'm gonna tell you what, I just got pitched a course for $500 that's gonna be not nearly as good as one of the ones I'm doing for free. And yet the person selling it for $500 is gonna have people throwing money at them. And I'm like, I can't have a tough time getting people to sign up for free. And I'm like, okay, maybe I do need to change my methods here, because if I can't reach the people, if they're not going to sign up and they're not going to listen to the content, I'm like, so that's kind of pointless. So anyway, so again, pros, it's digital products are easy to create. The digital nature means you get to create it once, sell it over and over. There's no inventory, though you can create an inventory if you're like, hey, I only want to sell 100 of these and give it like low demand, or high demand, low inventory, whatever. So jacks up the price, that's a strategy. And then delivery of the product is typically instant and electronic. So those alone are some of the pros. There's more. So, and again, there's just way too many lists. Now, some of the cons is that there can be, not always, but there can be lots of competition for many of the popular products. So it depends on the product. So I'm going to go with technology as an example here. And that's because, like, for example, chatbots, right? They're a dime a dozen right now. You can get a chatbot every time you turn around, somebody's pitching a chatbot. Get this one, do this one, and this one, this one. And I'm going, yeah, I'm sticking with what I have, because A, it's paid for, and B, the newer ones are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. These are the ones I've tested. So again, so there could be competition. If you were like, hey, I'm going to do a digital product and it's going to be a software as a service, so that in that case it would be the chatbot, you run into support and everything else. That's why I like the ebooks. Of course, then people complain because what you're writing about they don't like. Hey, but they still buy it. I have 2 stars and people are still buying it. So there you go. And then, of course, even ebooks on Amazon have requirements for submission, and there could be technological hurdles. So I personally think that an ebook on Amazon is not that big of a technological hurdle, but at the same time, I've seen some of those ebooks where people have published them, and I went, did they not use the template? Because I feel like they didn't use the template, as I can't read it because it's like not on the page anymore and stuff. And I'm like, okay. So when I only wrote 1 book so far, and so I haven't made very much money with it. But like I said, my husband laughs hysterically every time he sees the money come in, which is like 35 or 70 cents, I think, because it's half or whatever it is. It's 70 cents. And mine was about selling on OfferUp, which is an app. So it's the resale stuff. That was way back in the day when we first started doing it. And that was good times. Not the OfferUp, but writing the book. Yeah, selling magazines on Amazon. Yeah, because they have subscription based now, or no? Oh, Chrissy, Linda wants to know what you wrote about. You want to talk about it?
Well, I had 2 different areas, actually 3 different areas I wrote in, and because you can have up to, I think, 3 authors attached to an account, right? So I did 3 different names, and they're all similar names, but they were different. So one of my author names wrote children's books, which was actually the most successful because at the time, children's books were not popular at all, and as ebooks. In fact, I was probably one of the first ones out there. So I made a lot of money off my first children's book, which was very simple and for a young age. The second area I was in was gaming, how to make gold in World of Warcraft. And I'm very good at that, or used to be very good at that. So now I don't play the game as much, but
I don't know. We don't play very much, but we still do pretty darn good on gold.
And I still make money off those books.
Yeah. So anyway, so yeah, so you can really find a content that you're interested in, see if there's a demand on there, and you can usually tell, which again, if this is something you guys want to explore more, we got a whole strategy on it, right? I think I've even had a training on it. And the reason why I didn't follow it was because they wanted me to go through some sort of specific, no, wait, I haven't had a training on it. I just know how to do it. No, I don't know. Anyway, we'll talk. I know how to do it because in my Amazon training, I think, which was after I wrote the book. So now if I go back, I'm like, oh, I know how to do a lot of the stuff I didn't know how to do back then. So again, that's, if I were going to start this week, it would be a digital product and probably an ebook. And this is, of course, good for business to consumer. And you can do business to business as well. It's just that you definitely want to pick up the price of if you're doing business to business, you want to pick up the price to it because you're going to have lower demand on that. And also if you're teaching something specifically business related, and this is going to depend. It depends on the technicality of it. Like if I were doing one on Pinterest marketing, I'd probably just do it for free and include affiliate links, right? And try to get people back. In fact, that's one of the strategies I want to try to drive people back to lead generation source, is publish a free ebook on Amazon. In fact, man, I think I really do want to do that. All right, so how do selling models influence my decision? So now you're like, so how exactly does, if I'm selling business to business or business to consumer, affect my decision on my marketing method, right? Well, you can notice I added in these here, what they're good for. And that's because it really, some of them are going to be more ideal than others. Right. So it can focus you on niche and products. So for example, if you're selling business to business, it's going to focus you to either selling items for resale or selling business related products like commercial printers. So keeping that in mind, you're like, I got to be able to market something that can be sold. Now, I will tell you, I didn't really talk about this yet, is that business to business, if you're going to do selling items for resale, they're typically going to want proof of viability, I guess. So they're going to say, hey, is this going to be able to sell without too much work on my end, right? If somebody walks into Hallmark, will they buy it or do I have to explain it? Hallmark wants the one where people can come in and impulse buy, right? That's what their entire store is about. Other ones may be like, oh, I don't care, I'm gonna have salespeople, whatever. It just all depends. So what it is going to be dictated on your market. But business to business, you're gonna not be able to do some of the models as easy, right? We talked about print on demand, or that hybrid model in general. It's really difficult if you're not going to be buying in bulk to sell to them at a reasonable price. Now, the other thing is your marketing methods. Your marketing methods are going to adapt. So remember we talked about this, right? Either way, whether you're doing business to business or business to consumer, you need to have the appropriate selling model, which of course is whichever you choose, plus the appropriate marketing channel. And then that equals a greater chance of success. So if you're thinking, oh, hey, I only know how to market on Facebook, if that's your skill, you probably don't want to be business to business. Right? If you're like, hey, I am really good at LinkedIn and I'm good at networking, then business to business is back on the table for you. But like to me, I'm like, I'm really good at networking, but I have to stay home because I don't really stay home. I go to swim lessons and go over math lessons and everything else. But so I spend all my time with my daughter or doing this stuff. So I'm not going to have a whole lot of time to be networking with business leaders. So business to business is not really in my wheelhouse, right? Except for you guys. This is how I do business to business. So that is in my wheelhouse. But if I were not doing this, let's say if I were picking a model that was independent, then it would be, okay, business to business is not the best for me. Business to consumer is probably better because it's a little bit less requiring me to do that. But again, you have to decide. And maybe some of you are like, no way, I don't want to talk to customers. I don't want to do customer support. By the way, digital marketing and affiliate marketing, you can just run it off of email marketing. So I may have said some words wrong there, just so you guys know. My brain's going way too fast right now. So why does the monetization method matter? You need to consider the cost up front. So again, now we've said if you want to do business to business or you want to do business to consumer, that's something you need to consider. And then the monetization method, right? So white label, as an example, is there's no way around white label. You have to have an upfront investment for inventory, storage, and shipping, right? And then you need to consider what happens if you can't sell the item. You'll lose all that money. So that is an investment you have to be willing to make in white label. Whereas dropshipping doesn't have the upfront inventory, but with lower margins, you may need to cover the marketing for a while because of that business to consumer side. So, and then again, you need to consider the potential for profits. Can you cross-sell, upsell? And of course, this is harder in some niches. In dropshipping, for example, like when we were baking, we had a tough time cross-selling and upselling, right? Because people would be like, yeah, I like that one thing, it's cool, but there was nothing else that we could match with it, right? I mean, there were times where we would be like, okay, well, we're selling this one mold, and you're like, okay, well, maybe they're going to like these other molds. We would test left and right, and nobody would upsell or cross-sell. I guess it's more cross-selling than anything. And then we'd be like, okay, well, let's try upselling so that they get 2 of them or 5 of them, or maybe we'll start off with like tips and see if they'll go higher than that. Nope. We were very consistent. It was a very specific price point, and it was one item every time. We couldn't get them to cross-sell or upsell to save our life. And we're like, okay, so that's got to be niche specific to that. Because other people are like, yeah, I'm going to sell them shoes, and I'm going to sell them a backpack, and heck, I'm going to go ahead and sell them bed sheets too. And I'm like, how on earth are you doing that? And it's because they were in a completely different niche, right? At least that's what I'm going to assume. I'm assuming they were also telling the truth. All right, so let's recap the formula. The business model and the monetization method and the marketing method, you've got to align those, right? So the business model, are you going to sell business to business or business to consumer? Because we all know by now that consumer to anything is a bunch of crap. Yes, I said that publicly. All right, so the monetization method, will you sell via dropshipping, white label, hybrid, affiliate marketing, wholesale, arbitrage, or digital products? And now I'm not saying you don't have to do just one. Like I said, you could do digital and affiliate marketing together, right? So ideally, if you guys say, hey, I'm interested in this one and this one and this one, you could hop in and get some more information once I finish loading all the videos on the ones that you like better and see if, hey, because I'll have more, like I'll give you more stories in those, right? And then of course, the marketing method. The marketing method, which we've talked about, is like if you are going to be doing business to consumer, so if you're going to be selling to a consumer, you have more marketing options on social media. whereas you have less if it's business to business because you need more of that networking, right? So an example of this is business to consumer and white label and social media marketing, which of course we'll talk more about marketing next week, but just start thinking about the first two. Oh, look, click to add title. I don't even know what the title is supposed to be. I'm going to say something here. Something else. All right, so again, we have the extended videos and additional points to consider for the various business models inside the e-commerce business models and monetization course. I extended that. So September 12th is the scheduled date for print on demand as an FYI. For those of you who are like, oh, hey, I'm going to wait till print on demand. I'm going to try to get it finished and released sooner, but I'm still building a lot of the content because it takes forever to record and then upload. And I'm not even editing. It's just recording and uploading. It takes forever. So even though I'm going to try to get it done, and a lot of us have already been like, hey, we're going to do print on demand, it's extremely important that you consider the best business model for you. If you're like, hey, I've been with you guys for over a year and we're going to get this print on demand to work, please don't be stubborn like that. Think about the monetization methods and the business models and say, hey, I need to do what actually works for me because I don't care what guru told you what. You have to do what works for you, right? And if you're like, hey, I want to do white label and I want to do what Kim does on Amazon, I got a link to the course that I learned. I'm not going to teach that because I don't do what I'm supposed to do and I still make money. So that tells you that their information is pretty darn good. But, and I even have this, for example, I make way more money selling my own products on Amazon, Etsy, my website, other marketplaces, and that's with white label, than I do any other monetization. But it's a ton of work the way I do it. So those are considerations you have to do. Chrissy makes way more money with her arbitrage model currently than any other monetization method, though she's trying to find other ways to beat that out and doing a good job. But her particular arbitrage model takes up more space and it's a lot of work. So again, those are things you've got to consider, right? And as I said before, we've got links to additional resources in the supplemental courses, and I will email out little tips over the next week or so. All right, so what questions do you guys have? Sorry, I was breathing at the same time as I was reading, and for some reason I couldn't do that. Wait, hold on. So the email is based on whatever you plugged into the system, the old system. If you only want it through like one email or you want to be able to access with both or whatever, then go ahead. Oh, sorry, this is for Marjorie, by the way. Then go ahead and sign up under both emails so you have them both. Oh no. Sorry, my daughter's crying in the other room, saying she wants mommy. Okay, so Marjorie, more than likely, if that email is probably attached to something you purchased and it auto pulled it in because it went to one of the bonuses. So if you're like, oh, hey, I don't need to access with that one, then you don't need to sign up for that one under the second one. And then tell me which one, once you sign up, I'll know, because I'll just shift it so that it's all under that one email for you. That's the one thing about automation, right? They just can't predict things, not yet. Yeah, unfortunately, that's the only way to take care of stuff is manually nowadays. After I get past the automation is very limited. It's one day artificial intelligence. I mean, I am fairly confident that Amazon's listening to me right now, only because I have an Alexa, which I don't call it that, so that's why I can say it. All right, so let's go over this real quick. So the next steps, log into leadgenerationsource.com, go to the members area, which there's a login on the page. Let me go ahead and pull that up for you guys. And honestly, I don't know if the site's going to get any faster. I've optimized it the best I can, but the membership plugins that I use are bogging the site down. So I'm exploring options, trying to figure out if there's any way to speed it up, but you just may have to wait a couple extra seconds for it to load. Then if you haven't done the registration for the marketing series, I recommend you sign up for that. If I recommend everybody who's interested in e-commerce do both if they can. And if you guys can't make it to all the webinars, that's okay. They're going to be, you know, recorded, put on YouTube, put in the members area, and hopefully loaded into the Facebook group. Assuming I could post into Facebook groups, because I just got banned the other day. And so I was really mad for 24 hours. Oh, made me so mad. And I'll tell you guys exactly why when we talk about our Facebook marketing in the Marketing Master Series. So before we meet up next, try to narrow down the business model, either business to business or business to consumer, that you're interested in, and the monetization method, because that will also help me dictate what kind of content to come out with as we go. And then next time we're going to talk about niche marketing and keyword research. And this is the new site. Of course, this won't be there. I don't know if I can hide that. Anyway, so just go into the members login here. That's weird. Well, Marjorie, if you're signed up for one, and if you're already signed up for one, then just send something through the contact, so it goes straight to my email. Just send in the contact message and say, hey, I'm already signed up under this email. Can you add me to the other series? And as long as you sign up for the Demio sign up, yeah, so same thing, Linda, just send me a message through the contact, because like, again, that's faster. And then I will, which is right here. Then I will I'll go in and click and add you into it, but you have to sign up to Demio separately. So when you signed up to the e-commerce one, you should have gotten an email and it has the link to the thank you page. Go back to the thank you page and it'll have the link to Demio. Okay, yeah. So as long as you, because I can't, it just doesn't connect or whatever, and maybe I'm doing it wrong, but I can't get it so that you automatically are registered yet. I'm working on that. Okay, good, good. All right. It's okay, sweetheart. I know you've been away from mommy for a little over an hour, and it's so hard on you. Okay. Okay, I'll talk to you. Can you stand right there and wait for me?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, guys, I gotta go. So, Linda, I can't believe you remember that. I'm sorry, I hadn't seen an AOL email in like forever. And I haven't used AOL in I don't even know how long.
AOL anymore.
Oh, Joanne, you're going to a concert. Okay. All right. Well, Joanne, we need to touch base later on, maybe after next week's webinar or something like that. We'll touch base and see what webinars I can get you in. Take a look at the schedules and see if there's any that you're like, oh, hey, I like these. So what'd you say, Chrissy?
I was talking about AOL.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, everybody have a great weekend, and I will send out an email and post it in the group and everything with the recording for anybody who's interested. And I will also let you guys know when the course is fully updated, which should be by tomorrow at the latest. Bye, Stephen. Thanks, everybody. I will see you guys next week, if not earlier. Take care. Thanks, Chrissy.
Bye.
Bye.